Hi, welcome. Happy New Year. So, I'm sure I'm not alone when I could say that this last year has not been what I expected at all. And in fact, it took quite a bit of surviving to get through it. So, this lesson that I have created for us to do in our media arts class is to come up with a visual story or storyboard that shows how you survived 2020. So, the first thing you're going to do is when you're in your classroom, you're going to get to the classroom slideshow, and you're going to first of all see this very first slide. I want you to go ahead, since each of us have our very own slide, we're going to be able to edit. So let me go ahead and escape out of this so I can edit that. So right here, you're going to put your name. I would choose a color font so that it stands out. If you choose black like I have used, I'm not going to see it as well. So if you go up to where it says the font style, you can choose a different font if you like. Just make it sure it's legible or something I can read. And or here, if you choose a different text color, it's the A with the line underneath it's right here. Click on that. And then make sure to choose something that contrasts against that of the white background. So something dark, like let's say I'm going to go with my favorite color, which is blue. Okay, so here then I would put in my name. So this names are, and then I move on to the next slide. Okay, so we need to develop a story about how we survived 2020. So I want you to think of 4 different ways that you or activities in which you participated in that helped you to get through this horrendous year. Hey, maybe you had a great year, but even if your year was great, what are 4 ways that you, 4 fun things that you did while you're distant learning? So again, clicking on the text box here, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to come up with 4 different things or activities that you did. So I'm going to go ahead and for me personally, and you might have different ones, since I just moved in the mountain region, I have been doing a lot of hiking. So that would be one fun thing that I have done. Another thing that I have also done, of course, we're going to have some issues here with let me get back, try to keep it as organized as possible. Okay, so another thing that I done to help me through is spend some time with my family. Okay, again, it can be different from you. You might actually not find that you guys were actually at each other's throats the whole time, maybe arguing a lot or having a hard time with a full house trying to find a space that you can have some peace and quiet. So maybe that's not your way of surviving. Third one I'm going to put here is watching a lot of Netflix. I try not to watch too much TV. Anything over 4 hours is just crazy too much. So, when I'm done, of course, with all of the busy work that I have to do, I do like to enjoy and sit down to my favorite Netflix series. And gosh, there's so many that are out there. The you know your favorites, and we can always share our favorites at a different time. Okay, the 4th one I'm going to add here is napping. Could not survive without having a nice nap session. It was just so stressful that physically and mentally I had to just find some time to kind of meditate, or in this case, I'd go and lay down for a quick little nap. It might have it actually ended up being a couple hours, which for me isn't a problem because I have no trouble sleeping later in the evening. Okay, so there it is. Now I would like you to do the same. This is just again an example, so feel free to edit it in the way that um, that fits your own personal story. So once you're done with that, and of course you get some points for that, and I just noticed that I did not actually change the color on this, so let me see what's going on with that. Didn't I choose green? There we go. I guess you had to highlight it to do it. Okay, so there it is in green. You could choose your own color. In the next slide, it's kind of going over it. So the whole purpose of this is to create a story. A lot of anime, cartoon artists, and even game story developers go through this process of steps. And through these steps, they can develop the story or this idea. Usually a script or a story is written out in full detail. Scripts will include things like who's in the story, what's the story about, is there a dilemma that the character has to go through, or what's the message of the story. Plus, of course, then you want to answer the question of when and where the story took place. Once the story is planned out, the next natural step would be to make it visual. Like myself, I like to be able to not only verbalize and write down my ideas, but sometimes it takes an image, a picture, something that I can share with others so that they can too also see my ideas. And so that began the whole process of what we call storyboarding. So, storyboarding panels or multiple drawing pages are created, put that over there, by artists in order for us to see how the story is going to go. So storyboarding can be very similar to that of a comic book, for example. So in our own stories, we're going to show how our character survived 2020. So in slide 4, you're going to start developing your ideas as to those 4 ways you survived 2020. And you're going to do so by coming up with your story style for a background image as well as your characters. So this part, I hope that you will really dive into and have a lot of fun using your imagination, but keep it focused. Try to keep in mind that you're just going to pick one style and go with that. Some of you may ask me, well, can I mix and match? And you could. I'm not going to say no, but just keep in mind that if you narrow things down and you stay focused, then of course you're not going to get confused or lost, and it's not going to get too big. We want to keep this simple. So first of all, you're going to check out this link. So you're going to go to actually click on that blue link button there, and it's going to take you into this other Google slide that has a total of 5 different styles that I'm going to present to you and show you, and then you're going to choose one. Then you're going to come back to this slide and put in your answer as to what kind of style you plan on using for your storyboard that you're going to create. So let's go in there. Okay, so there are many different ways that we can present an idea, and we could do so in a fun cartoon kind of way with using anime or video game characters. So I want to go through each of the slides, and I want you, when you finally come across a slide that you are completely connecting with or you relate with, just remember that slide letter. The letter is what you need, important, plus the name. You can also copy, like you come back here and you can actually copy this and then paste it back into the other slide that we were previously in. So here's slide A. So to demonstrate different ways that you survived 2020, maybe you're going to use a video game character or a style that works with it. So you can see there's all these different examples. There are some video game characters that are all cartoon-like, but they don't necessarily have to be from a video game that's kind of drawn, hand-drawn. It could also be digitally rendered, like in this example here. We have very popular game of Halo. And as you can see, it's very realistic kind of graphic. So you could use a very similar style, and that make sure that you keep in mind that you are going to be using the characters from the game. So you will find images of those characters, plus also background scenes that do not include characters that you can use to put those characters into to place them in a way that tells your story. So keep that in mind as we're going through these. So A is video game. B, perhaps you are one of the Disney fanatics out there that loves everything Disney. I can't say I relate. Even though I grew up in Southern California, very close to Anaheim, I did not get all caught up in that. But hey, if that's what you enjoy and that's what you like and you grew up with it, go for it. A Disney character style. So to illustrate your story, perhaps you'll focus on a single character or a couple characters from Disney. Maybe you're going to use Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck. Maybe you're going to use, a character from any one of your favorite stories. So that is option letter B. Option C. I know there are a lot of anime fans out there. And actually, I am myself, because it takes the art of a single person and has come up with quite a different kind of story, more tragic than that of some of the Disney ones, not as wholesome for sure, but a lot of freedom in expression goes into anime characters. And I know for some of you, right away you're thinking, yeah, I definitely am going to do anime. So I'm looking forward to see how you are going to show how you survived the year 2020 using your anime characters in that similar style. So that's option letter C. Option D. So if you're like me, I grew up in a certain era where we didn't have all of the video games that we have today. We didn't have all the cartoons. Basically, that's part of the problem is I didn't grow up with Disney because I was from a different generation, even though we had some of the older movies. But I did grow up with comic strips. And one of my favorite comic character is, can you guess? It's on this image. Well, it could be number 6, Felix the Cat. But actually, my favorite, and the one I used to draw a lot of, is number 1, Garfield. So let's say that I want to create a story about Garfield as my character. I can also use images from our background scenes of Garfield. And if you know anything about Garfield, he loves to eat lasagna. So I used to collect and had books of all the Garfield comics. So maybe because I relate with that, that could be something that I would use as my character and similar graphics that go with Garfield. But if that's not your thing, there are some other options here. So the last option, of course, is that you can completely ignore all the other ones and just go with some good old clip art characters, because maybe that's just easier. So if you go to Google search under images and you type in clip art characters, you can actually be very specific and have a lot more options if you use clip art. You can also, and here, this is just throwing it out there, kind of an option. I know this is a free website resource. It's called Canva, and here you can do the same thing you could do on Google Slides, plus they have a huge library and resource of a bunch of different clip art that you can use, as well as some other images. So I'm just throwing it out there that if you do the clip art route, this is something that I would recommend you use instead of maybe Google Slides. Okay, so let's go back into that. That was the final slide. So hopefully you in your mind just automatically know what you're gonna do. I have an idea of what I'm gonna do, and it's not Garfield. So I'm going to take you through the process in a later video. But for what we need to do for today, now you're going to go back to the original slideshow. So click here if that's easier for you, or you can just go to your tabs, whichever one. And then on this one here, this is, I believe, slide 6, or the slide called Story Styles. You want to go ahead and click on this box here, this text box, and again, choose a color that you want to use. Keep consistent. I'm going to use green again. Hopefully this time it actually types green for me. And I'm going to put in which one of the styles I chose. So I'm going to go with the Smurfs. Yeah, I grew up with the Smurfs. So which one would that have been? And that would not be video game. B was, if you forgot and you have to refer back, just go back to that slide and you can kind of scroll through. Not really a Disney character, not anime. So I'm going to go with this one here, which is D. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having to type it all over, I'm just going to take a copy of it, copy it. It's kind of a cheater's way of typing, so you don't have to do the whole thing yourself, and paste. And there it is. I answered the question. That's what I go with. And again, I want to change the color. Just cut it. So I can say that's mine. I typed it. Okay. All right. So I have now have the 4 different ways that I survived. And now I have the style in which I plan on using for my storyboard. And I believe that is let me see, did we have more things? Okay. So this is in addition to now picking those things, what took you 5 minutes, we are going to now spend the majority of the time looking for a background in that same kind of style. And again, because we have 4 different ways that we are surviving, we have to come up with 4 different backgrounds. Now, you can obviously download or save more than the 4 because maybe the one that you chose is not going to work. And so you should have a plan B or an option to choose others waiting for you saved on your hard drive. So we're going to refer, if you need to, back to slide 3, which is this slide here, which is how you went about spending your time. And we're going to go to to the slide here. What's your location? We're going to click this link. So this is not completely, while making this video, of course, it's not completely 100% done, but it's by the time you click on the link, it's going to be ready for you. So again, I'll have a video how to do it, but of course, here's all the instructions of how you go about finding your images and what you do with them. So I do have examples here because I told you I was choosing the Smurfs and I told you what my activities are. These are some of the backgrounds that I would choose. And then instead of saving them here in the Google Slides, you're actually going to download these images to the assignment called, conveniently, Storyboard Backgrounds. Make sure, again, that you take the images that you find for the background of your storyboard, like you see here, and you're going to save them individually, one at a time, into the assignment called Storyboard Background. And that way, later when we go to use them, you know exactly where to find them. How many of us actually download things only to forget where we put them? Like you go to find it later, you want to retrieve the image and you can't find it anywhere, and then you got to go back in the Google search and you got to research those images. So to keep you from having to go through that again, if you just download it directly into the assignment Storyboard Backgrounds, you will have an area there where you will be able to locate your image and use it from that assignment. You can thank me later. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how to go about finding these backgrounds. All right, and that's going to be this video here as well. So first thing, obviously, is you're going to go into a new tab. Okay, whatever search engine you want to use. I just like to use Google search. It looks like it right now. I have it defaulted on Yahoo. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Some images might be better than others. Okay, they pretty much roughly find the same thing. I'm going to search for Smurf backgrounds. So I'm going to show you some different searches and show you what keywords maybe you can use to help you find a better search. So first, Smurf background, and then you go to obviously images. And then what I'm seeing here that has nothing to do with backgrounds, it looks like a bunch of Smurfs, and I need background images without the Smurfs. So let's start to narrow down our search. So let's go to village background. You can see my search is already coming up from previously. And see what happens. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so I have something like this, no Smurfs in it. That could totally work. Maybe for my hiking scene, that would be a good one. Or even maybe this one could be used for a hiking scene. Notice the style. This one here is kind of painterly. This one here is more like a cartoon, like the original style, Hanna-Barbera style. Here's some other ones. Again, kind of that cartoon style. So again, hiking was my activity, so I have to find a background for hiking. Spending time with family, Netflix watching, and so forth. So make sure though, as you're finding your background image, it is appropriate to that activity in which helped you survive. So think about that first before you start searching around. And again, you have to turn in 4 because you have 4 different activities, but you can download more just because you might not necessarily use that original 4. You might end up changing it. And so if you already have things saved up, that would be wise and save you time later down the road, because your first pick is not always going to be your best pick. Okay, so let's say you're going to do video games and you want to do Halo. Let's just, for example, let's see. I'm just for an example. Halo background. Halo. Let's see what happened. Okay. All right. Let's put without character. Putting in the search bar. Let's see what happens. Okay, we have something here. Look at this. Could that be used? Make sure that the quality of the image is clear, large. You want to see, if you look over here, I can't really zoom in on this, but if you look over to the right here, where it says the information about the image, it says 1920 by 1080. Anything over 1,000 pixels is going to give you a nice large quality image, usually. Look at this one. Like that. So again, think about your activity, how you survived, and whether or not that background can help you tell that story. If the background doesn't tell the story, then don't use it. You're not here just to make up a story of the video game that you watched. That's not the point of this lesson. So that one would be kind of cool for a hiking one if I wanted to do a hiking one. Okay, so that's, again, you would then click on the image that you want. So in this case, you can right click. I'm using my mouse on the right click, or sometimes you can actually take the image and drag it to your desktop. So I'm going to just save the image as. That way I can actually create a folder. And I highly recommend that if you want to if your goal of 2021 is to become more organized with your work, make a folder, please, so that you can keep all your work. So right here, you have the option of make a new folder. I'm going to name my new folder Storyboarding. And then I can add in that image that I'm saving, which I'm going to rename it to background number 1. Or it could be background for hiking, if you want to, or whatever activity it is that you choose, and save. Okay, so it's on there. So now what I'm going to go back and do is I'm going to go into that lesson. I would go into the lesson of storyboarding backgrounds, and then I can upload this image into it. So that next part you would have to go into the classroom and do. So I'm going to go into the classroom. I'm going to look for the lesson that's right here, storyboard backgrounds, click on it, and then there you would upload the image to, and of course, when I made this video, I haven't yet made this live too. So by the time you go in and look for it, it will be ready for you to actually add in work. So usually here in the upper right-hand corner is where you're going to have the option to upload your images, and you would go look for that folder called storyboarding, and you'd find the image for the hiking one, and you would submit that in for, and then so as a total, you need to have 4, I believe. Yep, right here it says, out of all your downloads, just select 4 to use for each of your scenes and upload your 4 images into this assignment. So make sure you do that. Once you get all 4 of your images figured out, make sure that you click up here in the upper right-hand corner. It'll say turn in assignment or mark as done. Make sure you do that, so then it sends me a message that you did it, so I can give you the points. Really important if you want to get credit for your work. Go back to the original assignment, and in that final slide, it just is a congratulations, good for you. You were able to get everything done. You make sure that you answer these questions in the slides here, number 3 and number 5, which I did in green. And then of course, you have uploaded your 4 background images, not to this slide or to any of the slides, but to the actual assignment called storyboard backgrounds. And of course, finally make sure that you do hit that button, turn in. All right, well, I hope that you have enjoyed the process so far. We have yet more to come in the days coming. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.